Hola!
Hola.
Well, hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
We are in the house,
The Cano house. The Cano house.
the house of ill dispute. You're going to hear some disputations today. They're just going to drive you crazy. We are so happy to be here with our special host, the man with the great suit jacket today, Mr. Christian Cano. Please
Yay!
join
Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I have my Mom's Event Action shirt on today.
Ooh, I need one of those shirts.
Oh, hey, go to one of the meetings and
I
well, you've been to one
know.
of the meetings. Everyone has, right?
I haven't been that lucky.
You've been to one of the meetings too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got a shirt yet?
No.
No.
No. See, it's not as easy.
I think people might misinterpret it if I wore it.
Yeah, he's Mr. Mom. But he says, go to one of the meetings and we'll get a shirt.
Exactly.
I've been in a meeting and I've never gotten a shirt.
Maybe they'll get the message now.
Well, you have an opportunity to get a shirt because Pride is coming up. Pride, the
Yeah,
Pride
August.
Rally, Pride
That's
March.
right.
And they'll be marching. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of groups, Medicare for All, will be marching.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start the show.
That's
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Ponduce. And today is July 31st, the last day of July.
Woo!
Wow.
My Aunt Peg's birthday, don't ask me how old she
Oh,
is.
happy birthday, Aunt Peg.
That's right.
And we want to welcome you today. Alexa, stop. Excellent. Our guest today, Caleb, unfortunately was not able to make it. He sent us information that he was going to have to reschedule. So I apologize because when he was on the last time, we had technical difficulties and we had to kind of go around our system, but we ended up having the show. So we'll have to have him back on, but he's running for city council. So
District 3.
District 3, that's correct. So I want to, hopefully he is okay, but well, I'm sure we'll be seeing him again. So welcome to Coffee and Ponduce, and let's go ahead and go around the table. Or should we, what do you guys want to do today? Because it blows up our whole script.
Let's go ahead and briefly introduce ourselves.
Excellent.
Again?
Just briefly.
Barbara
Briefly.
We'll
Bacon.
start from our right because you're always right.
I'm
How's
always
that?
right. Barbara Bacon, healthcare advocate here in the South Charlotte.
And I love pancakes and bacon.
Pancakes and bacon. Wow.
Yes, I love it.
Okay.
Pig roast, it was great.
Oh!
And I got in trouble with the Humane Society.
Oh, no.
Forgot
All right. Well, good morning. My name is Ruth Perez. I'm a community advocate and always happy to be here. I don't know why I feel like that.
My name's Jeff Scott. I'm wearing my Elvis Presley shirt today.
Yeah, it was louder than my jacket.
Las Vegas.
This is Blue Hawaii.
Oh.
The fact that you know that is really impressive. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I'd like to salute to the king.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Oh, we want to salute now?
Yeah.
Not yet.
We're so off script.
Alvin.
Salute, King.
Who are you again?
I'm Tera Long. I am candidate for County Commission at Large.
Woohoo!
Bravo. Very courageous.
Well, okay,
Office
we're
You
way
as
off
well.
script because we usually kind of develop our scripts around the
topic,
guest
yeah.
person we have today. But so we'll have to kind of
Wing
however
So-
we want to do it, which is why we started late.
Okay,
Sure.
so I'm going to interject. So one of the reasons why I really enjoy hanging out with these friends is because they always make me laugh. Even when I'm at home and I'm not here, they make me laugh. So I think we should have a humor day.
Yeah, that sounds great. We need that.
We need humor in this world.
Yes.
Well-
And let people see what type of banter we have.
Okay, so that could get us
that could
into
be
trouble. So
I don't know if they
Let me
really
ju-
want.
I don't know. The first piece of news today would be the State Board of Elections
Yeah, he resigned.
and Bob. Is it McCordle or Cordle?
Gordle?
Gordle,
Yeah,
yeah.
Gordle?
He resigned because he told an off-color joke, and I didn't understand the circumstances until I read a little bit about it.
It
But he
was,
told it in front of a very large group of people,
Yeah,
and it was sort of a very long-winded setup.
yeah.
And so it wasn't just like some crack that we might make
Yeah,
that someone is
exactly.
offended
It was
by.
like you actually had to think about the joke.
Yeah. So
Which he should have resigned, and
So that humor
because
we don't want.
Well,
it
I
was-
don't even know the joke, but,
It was.
but whatever.
It was a sexist kind of joke.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
My
of
we don't want
course.
any-
Yeah,
yeah.
we don't want that.
Yeah,
But-
but we don't have to joke about that type of stuff.
Yeah.
No, we're not. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good news to
Yeah.
share.
Because
so.
now the board is divided between 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, and we know that the major parties who only represent 66%
Yes.
of the voters, maybe less,
So we need an
in
independent
this state, the unaffiliated and Greens and Libertarians and some constitutionalists represent more than a third,
Mm-hmm.
and they are not represented
On the board.
on the boards, and none of the county boards, of which there are 100,
Yeah.
and those are appointees also,
Mm-hmm.
and many of those
And that
jobs
one-
remain
That
unfilled.
one person?
Oh.
And so if you're thinking about,
Applying for the
changing,
board.
helping to change the structure of the state boards
Yes.
and the way that it's organized, you can vote third party. That is
Have
that
you
is a
ever
way to change it.
thought, besides being a candidate for District 9 and into Congress, have you ever thought about running or being appointed into one of those boards or coming to be one of those to make that change to
Yes.
kind of fill in
To
if
be
you don't
an advocate.
yeah like,
That's right. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about
Let's let's talk about that.
60 seconds.
But can we do the?
Oh,
intro?
yeah.
Okay.
All right, absolutely, yes.
All right. So.
We'll keep
Think on
everybody
your
waiting
answer.
on the
We're gonna
edge
talk
of
about
their
that.
seats.
So, welcome to Coffee and Ponduce. Let's salute to
salute
Coffee
to
and
Coffee and
Ponduce.
Ponduce.
Yes.
Cha-ching. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
And I want to thank our new sponsor, our Manolo's Bakery.
Woo!
Manolo's
Yay,
Bakery.
Manolo!
It's been a couple of months since we've actually had
My
a
brother.
sponsor. And I want to thank Manolo's Bakery. It is immigrant owned, made by the hands of immigrants.
Those are my favorite, Tara.
And it is on
The pig.
Central Avenue. Everyone knows Manolo's Bakery. They've been
Oh,
in
yes.
business for decades. And
You don't want it?
please make sure that you support businesses in the Central Avenue area, specifically Manolo's Bakery. I
Yes.
can tell you they make some of the best Ponduce, but more importantly, they're known around the state
The
and also I
best.
think Georgia as well for the tres leche cakes.
Yes.
Oh.
So if anyone who has not tried a tres leche cake, go to Manolo's Bakery.
I'm ordering
It is-
my baby
okay.
showers.
Oh yes. So.
Yeah.
Cake
Okay.
there.
On
so.
that note, we were going to talk about the Brooklyn Village Project, the County Brooklyn Village
Wait.
Project.
Next time you bring Manolo's Bakery,
Yes.
Pan Dulce, make sure, Manolo, if you're listening to me, send us a pink concha.
I
A
did.
pink
Yes.
concha.
I-
And that is for one of our
usually
best guests.
Usually I
The
get
littlest
a concept
in
that
this
is correct.
table, okay? It's
I'm
Tara's
sorry.
daughter.
I mixed. I
Well,
mixed.
no, that's okay. That's okay. I was gonna ask Cano, are you watching your weight today? You want me to get you one? 'Cause
I would
sometimes
love one, but I just wanted to be polite and let you guys have them first because
That's fine.
we
Oh,
try
please.
anything that's fat
Okay,
free.
which one do you want?
So,
Fat free in this?
Yes.
I think not.
We're gonna have to.
It's gonna be free fat.
Exactly. If you eat it really fast, it's fat free. So.
Okay. The calories dissolve going down. Is
But
that
it's
how it works?
no, but it's also important that I eat because it keeps me from talking as much.
Oh,
That's really what
Okay,
Tara
you
is.
eat. We'll
Tara
talk.
is trying to say.
Jeff, do you need the whole bowl right there?
Ha ha.
We love you. Well, you know this. We love you. Love.
No, with wings, with wings.
Yes, prayer hands. All right.
We love each other here.
Okay. So we're completely off script. We're not even going to go over what we're talking about.
But I want his answer.
Yes. So we do want to talk about the Brooklyn Village project, which is very, very important. It's a project that was sold to a developer. The Brooklyn project, just to give you a little bit of, and we don't even talk about it. So let's talk about something really, really good. But first, let's get the answer from Jeff to the question. Repeat your question, and Jeff, please give us an answer
I can
in 60
repeat the
seconds.
question because, as you know, and Tara knows, and most of us know, the city has boards, boards of advisors, and boards of what's the other name they call their board?
advisory board.
Commission.
Just
Yeah.
board commissions,
Yeah.
elders, all that.
And a number of these
Council.
Yeah, a number of these relate to arts, development, taxes, city services, and things like that. And they you know, if you get on the city's mailing list, you'll get that kind of stuff in the mail. So if you're interested in getting involved, you can see the open slots. Some of them that are requires a certain amount of professional expertise, like on the tax side, for example. I think they offer some minor stipends, so you can get paid a little bit of money, which pays for your parking and your meal if you're stuck there, I think. But I have applied for one position on the board of I can't even remember the board. It's the tax board, the tax.
So that's for the county.
The revaluation. Yeah, I can't remember the full name of the board. But you know, I did interview twice with the commissioners back when
It's the county commission position you applied for.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. The
And you didn't get it.
Well, no, I didn't.
As a board member.
Oh, as a board member,
Not as a commissioner, as a board
Yeah,
member.
as a board member.
Yeah, and so I really don't actually know how the game is played.
I can tell you how the game's played.
Well,
Yeah.
Chris can tell us how the game. Let me finish the story. So you can take over here.
Yeah.
Good transition.
Which is that if you want to be involved in politics, this is a way to do it.
Yes.
And if you are, you know, of my persuasion, kind of libertarian, kind of, you know, I don't want to be involved with those people, those crazy people that are trying to ruin my life. I just want to be left alone. A lot of people don't want to be involved in city politics. They want to change the system, but they don't want to be involved. So it makes it very difficult. So there is a bias in the people who are selected. The people who are selected want to be very active. They got all kinds of great ideas about how society can work better and how the city can work better, and that's all fine, that kind of participation. But the voices that are left out are the people that say, you know, get your boot off my neck, get the government
Money out
off
of
my
my
back,
pocket.
you know, keep, you know. So if Caleb were here, one of the questions we did ask him last time was how are you going to work with people in South Charlotte who say, you know, you're taking a lot of my money.
Yeah.
And so with these boards and commissions, with the, like for example, I know the Arts and Sciences Committee, they've got a very large number of participants, and I think a lot of those people are just, I don't know how it operates, so I can't actually make a judgment about it. So anyway, let me hand it over to you. Go ahead.
The city and the county boards, the city has a lot more, I believe.
Yeah.
The counties are a little bit
Few more.
smaller, but
Yeah.
they're all very
That's
important.
There's 300 of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of boards. They're political appointees. So it would be very difficult for a non-Democrat or Republican to be appointed to those unless your party is in control.
Yeah.
They're appointed by the mayor, or a city council person can nominate you.
Right.
And usually, if you look at the boards, they're usually supporters of that city council person.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's a less important person who holds that position, but generally those positions, you're right, are positions that people are involved in our party or whatever party, they get appointed to the board. There are positions that are appointed because of their expertise, like the Visitors Bureau Board or some of those boards or whatever. But generally they are, they're appointed, they're nominated by the city council person or the commissioner, and then they're voted on by those. But
so it shouldn't surprise anybody that there is a little bit of lobbying.
Yes.
There, you do have to make political friends.
And they reward their big supporters.
That's how I got in.
That's right.
I started. That's how That's how I got in.
That's fine.
I started attending some of the Midwood meetings through
That's
Action and See,
Who-
and I met
And one of them
Alexis
appointed you.
Gordon,
Oh, okay.
and there was our mayor at that time, Miss Roberts, and all of a sudden I get a letter stating that I've been appointed for a 3-year term
Wow.
Okay.
to
Oh, they
see
didn't even
on
ask
an
you.
international. No,
But that was good.
that was
she
good.
looking
Now
for
I had to
diversity,
renew on my renewal time.
Yeah.
It was up to me. I mean, of course, you have to fill out an application and all that.
Yeah.
Once you I renewed, and I was like crossing my fingers. I'm like, am I gonna get accepted? Am I gonna continue? And yes, I was still continue, but I guess they supervise your work.
Yeah.
What do you do? How engaged you are with the community?
Do you show up?
They're
Yeah.
gonna show
They'll
up.
kick you
Yeah,
off
that's
if you
important.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
right.
God, yes. You can't miss none of those
Yeah.
meetings. And
So-
those are 7:30 in the morning. So yeah.
But they're all very important positions.
That's
They
right.
they help formulate policy for our.
We create ideas.
Yeah.
We suggest things that we want to see in the changes here in Charlotte, especially for the city council. So we do recommendations,
Yes.
and based on those recommendations, they either say yes or nay, and that's how they end up passing some of the stuff. Like what
Yeah.
they
Like
do in the
I've
past.
seen
Yeah.
at some of the city council meetings, right?
So let's talk about some better news, some really good news. Since this is Coffee and Pan Dulce, which is targeted towards
Open
Latinx
up.
people between the ages of 12 to 45, English speaking, largest growing demographic in America, and the largest voting bloc between 18 to 35 years old.
Woo!
Groundbreaking research that has significant implications for the U.S. policymakers and financial institutions. This just came out this week. The Peterson Institute for International Economics Research found that the Hispanic community in America has contributed significantly to the U.S. economy growth in recent decades and will continue to do over the next 10 to 20 years. The whole basis behind this research was it was based upon who is adding more to the economy, Trump's policies or the Latinx Hispanic community. And the research is showing that the Latinx community is overwhelmingly contributing more to the economy, mainly because we're growing so fast,
Right.
over Trump's policies. So that's a very positive news if you're a Latino and if you are for diversity and so forth. But it logically makes sense. If we are the fastest growing demographic, you're going to be contributing probably the fastest growing, other than the 1%. I don't know. You may
So
want to
that
say.
disproves some of the comments.
Yes.
And we won't
That's
say
why I said
whom,
it. Yeah, because we're
that
positive today.
You are not
The-
contributing.
We're not the
Well,
takers, the takers,
So,
the takers. Yeah.
I mean, that was always a very bogus claim
Yeah.
to make about
But we're
people.
hearing it, hearing it,
So,
hearing it. because
so,
it's
so
been
people
done.
who are here, they're working, they're in the job market, they're raising families, they're participating in the economy, they're buying goods and services.
Paying tax.
Those people are doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so I don't know, to compare it to Trump's policies. I would that
Well,
seems
that was
like
the
a little
research,
bit
yeah.
of a stretch.
Yeah, but it was easy to
Because-
prove that one, I guess.
Yeah,
So.
because you could randomly select 1 million
Yeah,
workers,
that's true.
right,
Yeah,
across all spectrums,
that's true.
and say in between that certain age group and say, wow, these are the people that are out there, forming their households and
Yeah.
moving around to find the best jobs and working hard, putting in the 45, 50 hours a week, and taking that tiny little 1 week vacation, and then keeping their nose to the grindstone. Yes, they are contributing a lot to
To our economy.
this great capitalist engine that we've got.
They do
So-
contribute. The only problem that I see as a Latinx is they don't really show their contributions. They don't really do anything or step up or step in. So
Are they afraid?
that's what I kind of think. They're either afraid or they are thinking that if I report this, I could get myself in trouble or I could
Well,
get.
what do you? Are you talking about like whistleblowers within corporations?
No,
stepping
not
up, or are
whistle.
you
No,
talking
no, no.
I
about-
know what she's
As a
talking about.
community,
Yeah.
it's a great research, and
Yeah.
I guess they're way behind
Yeah.
on their research, on
You
their
know,
report.
Well,
I
let me
would-
let me
yeah,
let me
yeah.
follow up with that, because
Uh-huh.
are you saying that the Latin community might be a little bit too timid to
Too
say
timid. Yes.
We're not-
say what
we're-
it is
yes.
that they?
Which is why we started this.
Yes.
We're not politically involved. Like we
Yeah.
we represent 60% of the city of Charlotte, but we have no one on Charlotte City Council,
Yeah.
no one elected in the Mecklenburg County
They will-
area.
They can
Hopefully
prove that.
one day we'll change
Yes.
that.
Well,
hopefully.
we've got 3 candidates. We got I can't remember the 2, Gabby and
Gabi,
Jorge
Cortejena,
and-
Jorge, and the city council only.
Right, but
Yeah, I think it's-
but that itself is a little bit of a
But see,
double-edged
just
sword,
imagine-
because if people are just out there working hard,
But they
uh,
work hard.
They get a lot of respect from
But see,
from
listen,
average
they
people.
work hard, and they're that type of families where the more they work, the more they spend, and they don't spend it at Goodwill. They don't spend it on secondhand clothing. They go to the malls. They go to the outlets.
My-
They spend
Well,
money
somebody
in
has
their.
to.
Well-
they spend money in restaurants and
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah.
they contribute.
My
to
first
our-
job out of
Yeah.
college was working for a Spanish-speaking radio station.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So I was very immersed in the demographics
Yeah.
at that time, and it was in Texas,
Yeah.
which is what North Carolina is looking like. So in California was, and Arizona was, and Colorado became, and Florida
Chicago,
had become. And Latinx individuals tend to be very brand loyal. They tend to the purchasing power tends to come from the woman, but the decisions tend to come from the children who tell the mom or whatever. It's probably like many emerging demographics or whatever. But I do agree with you. The culture of the Latinx community is different by state to state. If you're a Latinx person from California, you're probably very politically involved because you've been there. Texas is now getting politically involved. Nevada, Arizona, California, Florida. In North Carolina, we talk about this all the time because it's so young. We've been taught culturally just to blend in and to not really take pride in who you are. Now that we are becoming a more powerful force politically, it's taking little steps.
But I'm certain there are a lot of people, many of whom are listening to this show, who are saying, well, wait a second. You know, for me, the melting pot is really the ideal. I do want to have neighbors from different cultures. I mean, I came from a different culture and I'm here, or I'm a second generation or third generation. I do want to blend in. I want to be a gringo or whatever.
Well, that's
whatever
how I was brought up.
Yeah.
I was brought up being proud of who you are, but it was more important to be to blend in, which is why I was not taught Spanish when I was growing up. It was important for my family to be able to fit in, so to speak, which is...
Did your parents speak Spanish?
Yes, they did. Okay. It was their language they spoke that I couldn't understand.
There's nothing wrong. We've all got these loyalties.
We have Liliani. We have Liliani on audience. Liliani Lindsay. Thank you for your comment. She said, "Good morning, everyone. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Enjoying the conversation."
Well, just give you an example. And that's the difference, I think, between many people that are here. Every culture is different. Our Latinx community is so diverse within itself. You have Mexican Americans, you have Puerto Rican Americans, Cuban Americans, Colombian Americans, especially here in North Carolina. I go by Christian Cano because early on in my career, I knew if I went by Fernando Christian Cano, it would be difficult for me to get jobs.
Fernando.
Yes. And so I've always gone by F. Christian Cano on my resumes, which I will admit probably got me a lot of my jobs and my consulting jobs.
If we turn around on the other side of the world, a lot of our immigrants that come from foreign countries, not Latinos, but Asians, Middle Eastern, they will not try to fit in. If you see their culture, they will not. They refuse.
Changed his last name.
I mean, that's my name, Fernando Christian Cano, but I have always gone by Christian Cano from professionally because of the fact that I know, being a former hiring manager of 20-something, almost 30 years in the hotel business, you look at a resume, and the reality is that makes an impression on your psyche, and it shouldn't, and hopefully you've got great HR people who don't allow that to happen. But the reality is, and to Mark Jarrell, when he was on our show when we started this show, he talked about within the black community as well, their name could impact their ability to get jobs, and it does. Yes, ma'am.
So my daughter's name is Svetlana Long.
Svetlana
Long.
Oh, that's
We have no European background. However, my husband and I wanted her to have a classy name.
Svetlana.
But yet something that
Beautiful.
she could abbreviate for that very reason. So she is Svetlana, but Lana is what she goes by.
Okay, yeah. And so, I mean, it's part of our
culture.
I don't know.
Well, let me ask a further question then, because we're talking about our loyalties.
Sure.
And these may be country loyalties, they may be ethnic loyalties. And what's really setting the country on fire right now is the idea that some of these, for lack of a better term, tribal loyalties have gotten out of hand. Now we all
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
through life with different sorts of
Sure.
loyalties, whether it's our company, our family, or
Sports
our
teams.
sports teams and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It doesn't get out of hand until thousands of people are stampeded
Yeah.
in a soccer stadium, right?
Yeah.
Then you know it's gotten
Yeah.
a little out of
Yeah.
hand, or the the batons come
Yeah.
out and the rubber bullets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we seem to be in a condition, at
Mhm.
least in some parts of the country and with some groups of people, where this feels like it's very close.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
that
understand.
some of these rivalries
Mhm.
are, people are very thin-skinned right now about. They're very touchy
Yeah.
about being called a name or being associated with something. So, are any thoughts on that? Because when I move through different circles, I'm not hanging out with people who are like, wound up tight,
I am.
and are just
You know,
ready to spring.
It makes me
Present company accepted.
That's right.
it makes me feel very happy about the research.
Yeah.
Knowing that we don't really have to step in or stand up to prove the government how the economy is growing.
Yes.
The great thing is that they're doing researches and they're finding out that the more, and they probably end up doing this type of research by after all the arrest, all
Sure.
the deportation, everything that, because
Yeah.
the economy has collapsed in some areas.
Well, I can tell you this research in the business community,
Mm.
and you probably, all of us who've come from the corporate world, you
Mhm.
probably know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've been doing this kind of research for
Yes.
a long time,
Right.
looking to see
Good morning,
who our future
Lynn.
market. Hey,
Yeah.
Lynn, how are you? We're being positive today.
Join the conversation.
Join the conversation.
It's so unlike him.
So anyway,
Now, please
Don't
don't
get me
make
started.
don't push the button.
I will turn. I will call you out. We've been doing research like this for a long time, especially coming from
Yeah.
the media perspective, and especially in the hotel business. A lot of our niche marketing dollars go to 4 categories. They go to the LGBT community, they go to the Black community, they go to the Hispanic community, and then they go to 18 to 25, I believe.
Mm.
And so those are the 4 niche marketing dollars. And by dollars, generally, most of the money goes to the youngest because they tend to spend more dispensable income and they make decision making or whatever. And then you go, it depends on the product or whatever.
Right, yeah.
If you're watching golf, which I do every Sunday, which is, I'm not sure what that tells about me, it's probably a different demographic,
Yeah.
the product you're selling. So
Yeah.
this is good news. I think it's
I
important to
think
share
it's
this
very
important.
inspiring, and that helps us as Latino
Yeah.
knowing that it's not what they say out there; it's what we're proving down there. So.
That's right. The facts on the ground are
Yeah.
absolutely different
Yeah.
than the
Whatever.
hysteria
Yes.
that gets reported
Yes.
by the Department of Homeland Security, those
Yes.
SOBs.
So let's make
who
sure
are
and save all that
inflaming-
money, and when they tell us go back to us,
Yeah.
we'll help the other countries make more money.
Yeah.
Well, someone said, and I know it's hard for us to think about this in today's political climate because we're keeping the show positive.
Mm.
Even with all the angst and anxiety that we all have, regardless of what party we belong to, at the end of the day, we all have this, we all know that we're going to come back around.
Mm.
How long that's going to take, I don't know. And maybe, I don't know, but
Yeah.
the fact that we're able to sit at this table together
Mhm.
without killing each other,
We do all get along.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Even though we are completely different.
Well, that's true.
Correct.
That's true. So,
But it's hard to keep, it's hard
Yeah.
to keep even keel when, and this just happened over the last 48 hours. And
Yeah.
what I view this as sort of a very fake hit job on someone who's actually not very sympathetic.
Mm.
So Mitch McConnell, because he's the leader of the Senate on the Republican side, don't choke on Manolo's bakery bread. That would be very bad for advertising. It would be very bad for advertising. Anyway,
Moscow Mitch.
yeah. So because he blocked this, election security bill, and I don't know a lot of the details of it, but I do know that this is a pet thing of the DHS and the cronies there that want to sell states, election cybersecurity services, which are, I consider largely
So you're
bogus.
defending Moscow Mitch?
So I am defending Moscow Mitch because they're just saying that he must be a tool of Putin because he wants the Russians to interfere again, like they interfered the first time, like we haven't been through 3 years of this Russiagate mania. So the idea that people would say, Moscow Mitch, you're out there, you're doing the work of Putin, dividing Americans by stopping the DHS's funding for taking over state election system. The same DHS which puts boots on the necks of immigrants, the same DHS which is hyping up this whole sex trafficking thing, the same DHS which is mistreating people all around the country. So I claim bullshit, I give Mitch credit, and he's very unsympathetic. I don't support it.
I think Jeff's hair's on fire. So if you want to push Jeff Scott's button,
push the button, make some comments, help us here.
Well, look,
I think it's funny.
Well,
it's politics.
Yeah.
You can't get into politics.
But just the piling on and the messaging. I mean, I think I went to Twitter and I saw the people who retweeted it, all the
Jeff,
celebrities.
do you think,
Mia Farrow and Jane Lynch and Ariana Huffington. They're all just going, "Ooh, you're doing Putin's bidding."
This is what I think that we have not acknowledged, because we want to keep a hold of the innocence of politics in America, and I think that is gone. And it's been gone
for a long
and I think it's hard for us who have seen that at one time in our life to admit that it's never. If you go to other countries like Britain, and they're pretty tough politically. They'll sit in Pollard, whatever, and
their powdered wigs.
And I think that the powdered wigs. Just the fact they wear powdered wigs, I think is hilarious. So
we need to do more of that.
I think the days of us thinking that you can run for office and not expect to get your feelings hurt are gone.
Yes.
And if you think that is going to, you're going to be disappointed,
right?
Because regardless of running for city council, whatever.
No. I don't.
So
I don't disagree with that.
So,
however, and I'm going to hand this over to Barbara in just a second. When everything feels like the National Enquirer, when everything feels like you're, in your shopping lane and you're looking at, Mitch McConnell fed newborn babies to aliens in Area 51. I mean, when it's that level of sheer stupidity, you have to say, well, I got to draw a line. And maybe there is no line.
But Jeff, wasn't it that way as a history person? I didn't major in history, but history was important to me growing up. That was in early 1800s and stuff. Andrew Jackson, Johnson.
I have
It was probably worse because we didn't have social media to correct it instantly. So it's always been that way. Trump just brought it out.
It has been vile, and I don't even hold Trump responsible necessarily.
No, I don't think. I think Trump's a racist.
Yeah,
but he's a symptom.
Oh,
of
he
racism.
just said yesterday he's not.
Well,
Barbara,
let's not judge him. Barbara, you're next.
So be sure.
Let's go back to why we don't have a good selection of candidates anymore. I was at a town hall meeting, and this was back in the winter time. And there was a group of people, some of the Friday morning people, some of the people that were attending this town hall, and there were a lot of people standing around us, and I just said to a politician that was there, why don't we have a better selection of candidates? I'm very tired of voting for my least worst choice. And he just looked at me and said, because politics is dirty now. It's vicious.
It's always been.
But not to the degree that it has been in the past 2 election cycles.
It's dirty, but only if done right.
Yeah.
Okay. So those of
whoa,
those of you
The libertarians can be.
when it's voting time.
Tera,
everybody knows that
Second time he's turned red today.
Barb is on my team, and I have explicit orders to my team that no matter how dirty my opponents get,
Right, we will not.
nobody on my team is to fight back.
let me tell you, they have already started to get dirty. Your election is not until 2020,
Mhm.
and I'm not just you.
Sure.
The county commission,
The county.
people, and the people that are running for county commission, who are thinking about running, they have already started to drop these innuendos about people. And I'm not talking about you, but
Sure.
just
Yeah.
people in
Sure.
general.
Right.
Specifically those who've announced they're running
Mhm.
in the Democratic Party.
Right.
And so it is
The
already
Russian
Okay, it's
troll
the
bots.
mud
The mud is slinging
Yeah.
already,
But
right?
but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Politics does not have to be dirty. That is a decision that the actual politician makes.
Mhm.
So
And
Yeah.
so I would tell you to be careful when you're selecting your politicians
Yes.
to see
Correct.
what type of campaign they
Right.
are running.
But to your point, Tara, I think that's one of the things that, especially when I watched last night's debate, we are in a time, in an era, where people want, if you're on the right, you want someone like Trump. If you're on the left, you want someone like Bernie. The people in the middle, we all want to get to the middle, and we kind of talked about this briefly earlier.
We did.
But the reality is, that's not what people want at this time.
Mm.
So, yes, I would love to have rainbows and unicorns, but the reality is, at this time when there is such an economic divide within people, they're very wealthy, and the working class are getting work harder and harder. The working class want people that will stand up and
And fight
say,
for them.
enough is
Sure.
enough.
But I think
And
that
that's-
there's again, and this is
Yeah.
going to be my campaign. It's going
That's
to be.
good. Yeah.
I'm not a fighter. I'm a worker. So if you want somebody to get something accomplished, you put me in office. If you want somebody who's just going to talk and not get anything done
Yeah.
and fight, then you need to vote somebody else in.
Right.
Because
So
I'm
it's-
going to keep my head down and I'm going to do the work.
That's
Right,
good.
and so to say that you're not going to be dirty as a tactic,
Yeah.
that,
Right.
that's very smart.
Yeah.
That's very commendable.
You just get other people to do it.
Right. Well, yeah.
We know how Cano runs. his
No,
campaign.
I don't. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying is that
Yeah.
even those that say that they are running as reach across the aisle kind of.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's
They've
why
got
he
other
didn't
people.
win, because he played and ran his campaign clean.
Yeah.
Well,
Not dirty as others.
Let me-
And that's what happened. And sometimes you
Yeah.
just gotta be careful. I guess,
Yeah.
like what he said, you gotta be dirty.
Yeah, you gotta be- You gotta be dirty
be
without
no
getting your
win.
hands dirty.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
dirty.
So-
How do you
So-
discreetly be dirty? I haven't
get
quite
it?
that.
Well,
So,
Being the eldest
For
person
those
at
of
this
you who've
table.
never heard that joke before, that's sort of a play on the old Woody Allen joke that sex is dirty but only if done right.
Yeah,
I don't watch Woody Allen movies.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Medea,
So,
Yeah.
but
anyway, let me make a point.
Lynn says, before you continue,
yeah.
paper ballots, period. And then she said, I like a fighter and a worker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
So let me make one other point based on what you said
Yeah.
about the two extremes of the party, because I listened to an interview with Zoe Lofgren from California and Justin Amash last week. It was on the Cano broadcast, and it was a fascinating interview. But Justin Amash made a really interesting point about the way that the Congress is supposed to work. Right. So right now it's very polarized, and all the parties and the committees, deliberate amongst themselves and then sort of force feed it on the membership. But the purpose of the body was for everybody to come together
Yeah.
and deliberate and discuss, and that's where the policies would emerge, and that's how they would be voting on. So when you think about, Trump debating against Bernie Sanders, what you would expect is the two of them have a head-to-head, heart talk where Trump looks at Bernie and goes, you're right, there's a lot of people here without health care, and we need to do something about that. And Bernie looks at Trump, and Bernie says, well, yeah, I think we don't want to overburden our young people with all of these expenses, and then they have a meeting of the minds on, what we're doing around the
What
world in
dream
war.
are you having?
Well,
now?
I'm just saying that most American voters who talk to us, for the most part, say, I'm really sick of this two-party
Yeah.
stuff that's going on, the control of the major parties and the cronyism and the corruption. And what we really want to see is
An
those
agreement.
parties get together and discuss.
Those
because
people in those
Chris and I
parties.
can talk about these issues and we can go, well, I hadn't thought about it like that before.
And that's
Yeah.
why two heads are better than one,
But-
or three heads.
That's why
And-
deliberation
Yeah.
Correct.
is
But-
important.
but-
Deliberation
Meeting
is
of the
extremely important.
minds, not.
But I think,
That's right.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I think what has happened is, everything goes kind of like in cycles and stuff.
Mhm.
Well, he was
And
supposed to drain the swamp, so what happened with that?
yeah, well, I think everyone can learn from everyone's. We can
Yeah.
learn from how Clinton ran.
Yeah.
We can learn from Obama. We can learn
Yeah.
from Bush. And
Mhm.
everyone runs, but I think what it seems to be is, and I've said this before, is that what the Republican Party has understood is they've understood their base,
Mhm.
and the Democratic Party has tried to take the high road.
Mhm.
At the national level. At the local level, our Democrats run as Democrats.
Yeah.
They run very Democratic, and they win. Yes. Well,
I didn't
but
say
at the
that.
federal level, they try to run, we need to oppose to the middle, and as a result, you lose your base. And so, what I have been saying all along, and I think we're seeing this in the Democratic primary, is the ones that are-
presidential primary.
the presidential primary
Yeah.
is the candidates that are getting the most attention from our party are the ones that are saying, I'm going to fight for you. I'm willing to give bold ideas. I'm willing to do this. Because we know when someone says, I want to send a man to the moon, that's a goal.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
So I think Democrats are intelligent enough to know when someone gives us a bold idea, we know that it may not be,
Yeah.
but we want vision. We want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Republicans don't need that, but Democrats, because I said this before, Republicans win because they're afraid. Democrats run because they can inspire people, and that just happens to be how our party is. When you are a marginalized person,
Mhm.
which our party wants to represent, and you're working, you're a single mom, you're a LGBTQ, you're a woman who doesn't have equal rights or whatever, you want someone who can give you hope. And if you
That's
don't
true.
have a candidate that can give you hope, it's hard to bring them out to vote. So if you are a Democrat and you run more centrist and moderate,
Mhm.
it is more difficult to win because you have to get your base. And that was really all my argument.
Yeah.
If you want to run as a Democrat, you got to win your base at least,
Right.
and tell us you're going to fight for me. So,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
going to stay positive. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying is that seems to be
Well, think back to 2016 during the Republican primaries before we knew that Trump was going to emerge
Yeah.
as the winner. I mean, they weren't. They thought he was destroying their base.
yes,
Right.
But he actually galvanized their base.
He did, right. So
Because
so,
he-
so the
yeah.
Republicans, the other
Yeah.
15 or 16
Yeah.
were kind of clueless
Yes.
and thought this could never work. I mean, when you remember the hatred
Yes.
toward him,
Yes.
and one of the reasons why behind the scenes
Yeah.
we know that the Clinton campaign was doing
Mhm.
a Pied Piper strategy to encourage
Yeah.
both Ted Cruz and
And it
Trump,
backfired.
and it totally backfired.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
So-
when in election history, after the fact, have you ever watched, and I'm a Sunday morning
Yeah.
political
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
so many media people say, I was wrong. I about fell out of my chair.
Well, I think because most of your
Talking heads.
media talking heads, they tend to be centralists, and there's like last night, for an example, when I didn't watch the debate until after we came back home,
I didn't watch it.
and
just
I was
listened to the
watching, and there were
highlights. I
like
didn't wanna watch.
there were 10 people, 5 of them were
Yeah.
moderates,
Yeah.
Right.
but 4 were
Yeah.
progressive. The author lady, I think, was the star of the
Mhm.
event.
Yeah, she
Because
did.
she basically said, I don't know why you're Democrat if you can't stand for Democrat, kind of like that.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah,
then
she
Elizabeth
pumped it.
Warren said to the moderate
Mhm.
white guys,
Mhm.
the centralists, who are trying to bring the party more towards
Yeah.
Joe Biden,
Yeah.
she basically told him, which won, I think, one of the best lines, I don't know why you're running for president if you can't tell people what you can do. All they keep saying is we can't do Medicare for all, we can't do Green New Deal.
Yeah.
Democrats don't want someone who tells them, because we've been told that our entire life, you can't be equal. You can't have equal pay. You can't be a union person. You can't have weekends off. We don't want someone who tells us
You can't.
you can't.
You can't.
We want someone who tells
What
us
you can.
you can do.
Yeah.
And
There's hope.
that's what moderates don't understand about the Democratic Party.
Mhm.
The base of our party, African Americans, we're younger, we're browner.
Mhm.
we've been told no so long that we want people that can inspire us, which was the genius of Obama.
Yeah.
Obama said, but he was able to get that
Change
message.
and hope.
Change and hope. He was able to get that message even across the white, blue
Yeah.
collar people in our
Yeah.
rural areas,
Right,
because
right.
they have been told by Republicans for so
Well,
long.
they've been
You
forgotten.
can't, they've been forgotten. So we've got to go back to our base. And, you know,
Yeah.
how long that's going to last? All I know is I think it's going to last at least until the boomers don't have as much influence on our party. Because in the Democratic Party, the boomers have a lot of influence at the precinct level, and they're still kind of hanging on to precinct chairs. The younger people that are coming in our party, they're just kind of waiting for them to move on. And then you're going to see maybe we can bring our party back to the middle. But unfortunately, just like the Republican Party went through with the Tea Party, we're going through the progressive movement because we're trying to push those centralists out who have kept us down. I'll be honest with you, Erskine Bowles, the old Democratic people in Charlotte have kept our people of color down in politics here for their benefit. And it's time to move them out. And Kay Hagan's, those old kind of North Carolina Democrats, they have taken advantage of us who have voted for them. But when we ask them to stand up for us, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Governor Cooper should, and you said this last week, I was watching last week's show again, we shouldn't have had to reach in a compromise with the LGBT in a lawsuit for our transgender people to use the bathroom. That's something that human beings the Democratic Party should have stood firm on that.
Firm on that.
But we sacrificed our principles, in my view, and we kind of, unfortunately, we abandoned our transgender community just to appease a few white L and Gs who were okay because they can use the bathroom.
Yeah.
And so,
well, that's a lot of
positive.
Yeah, no, that's interesting information about the inside of the Democratic Party politics. As you know, my beef is basically that there's no anti-war Democrats left, the kind that I grew up with.
Well, there are, Warren, the progressives.
Well, there's
progressives.
There's Tulsi, Mike Gravel, and Marianne Williamson.
That's right. Yeah.
And they're the anti-war wing.
And the moderates, if you watched last night's debate, the moderates or the centralists that were running, they would not commit to getting all the troops out of Afghanistan.
Right.
And that is, I think, a mistake.
It's a big mistake.
It's a
I
big
mean,
mistake.
I wouldn't even look at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, positive news. Anything else positive we want to talk
It's
about
11.
in the last 15 minutes?
I think
Well,
we should move on to the next.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
so the next constitutional quote of the week.
Yes.
Let's go ahead. We read.
We didn't talk about our buttons today either.
Yes, let's talk about our
something
buttons.
very important that it's been hurting my heart this week, especially seeing another young life passing away in California. Even though it's on the other side of our country,
Sure, absolutely.
it still is painful to see how just anybody can just go buy a legal weapon with no, restrictions, nothing. 19 years old, and
Bought
it's very
AK-47, I believe.
yes, and it was legally bought.
Bought it online.
So
And that's why I wore my Moms Demand Action button, was because that happened 2 days ago,
2 days ago, Monday.
and
Sunday.
is it Sunday?
Yeah.
Sunday, I thought it was
And
Sunday. Okay.
one of the
At a
things
food
we had Shannon
festival.
from Moms Demand Action talk about Be Smart and
That's wrong.
how we
Yeah.
can get people to be smarter. And the reality is, unfortunately, is that we are becoming, and I think we've already become so immune to
Yeah,
these
we just don't
tragedies
care anymore. We're used to it now.
that
I'm not used to it.
I know.
That's what it seems like nobody's listening, nobody's doing anything,
Yeah.
and they're just okay, whatever. And there's a small little group that
Moms Demand Action is still trying to
are trying to kind of bring that awareness. But I mean, why do we have to wait until
How many more
things
have
happen?
to die?
Tragedy goes on until we kind of all stand up together.
We've got the largest military in the world. We're like
Yeah.
10 times bigger than the next biggest power. We've got 80 bases. We've got bases in 80 countries. We have a huge
That doesn't help
military.
us.
Huge military. We have a very violent, martial, warlike society.
But it's
We are
the
not
rogue people
withdrawing.
that are causing the problem.
We are bullying people all over the world. You think that's not going to have domestic consequences. It is, and this is what we're seeing.
But once again, let's go back to a conversation like 4 or 5 shows ago.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, they equate this problem to a mental health issue, a
Even
Drop
lack
out.
of insurance.
dropout from school,
Yeah.
and there's no counseling, there's no resources for these people, and until we pay attention to this and try to stop it, it's going to keep happening.
So Medicare for All would take care of that, by the way. Just want everybody to know.
Yes, Medicare,
Yes.
Medicare for All would take care of that. It's a comprehensive
Mhm.
insurance. Medicare for All would cover mental health. It would cover dental. It would cover vision. If you're a union worker, you would not lose. You would lose your private insurance, but you would be able to negotiate in your union contracts your wages instead of Medicare. So you actually would make more money.
Right.
So your
Because it
dues.
wouldn't come out of your pocket.
Exactly.
Right. On
And
your
so,
paycheck.
yeah, that was a misnomer, a false claim that was made by the centralists yesterday, was saying that the progressives want to take private insurance away from union workers and this, and even though the AFL-CIO has now endorsed Medicare for All, so has the NAACP, so has the Moral Monday movement and all those social justice movements. It's a scare tactic to divide us, and because people who don't understand is it actually gives you better insurance. And so we all have to educate ourselves on these programs. And yes, for some people, if you're a centralist, what they're telling you is, and we have centralists running who say, no, let's just fix the Affordable Care Act. Yes, we want to continue to fix the Affordable Care Act, but the solution is Medicare for all. And if you're a centralist, you don't want Medicare for All to succeed, because that will be an admission that you've been wrong all this time. And
Correct.
people would rather be right than do what's right.
You're correct.
And
That's right.
unfortunately, that's what you and I can have this conversation. As a Democratic Libertarian, I know that's an issue that your party probably is not going to ever merge on unless we can get talking points. I really wish the Cano Institute would do research on that and see what they come up with.
Oh, they've done an amazing amount of work. I mean, Michael Cannon in particular from the Cano Institute. You can
But
look
when it
his stuff
happens,
up.
because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, I think most people know it's going to happen. It's just when, how long it's going to take. How long do we have to hold off the lobbyists? There are commercials running right now that are saying they're trying to take your private insurance away. They're trying to do this. Even our Democratic nominee in some of our races, we're being positive, are trying to say that Medicare for All is not what we're looking for.
Not an option.
We know that
But they don't understand.
we know that
it.
76% of people 18 to 35 support Medicare for All and the Green New Deal.
Okay, so then the question is it going to eliminate private insurance or not?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it will.
Okay, so even socialized European countries,
Maybe
Austria,
don't-
Switzerland,
maybe
that have
don't
socialized.
call
Let me
it-
finish. That have these systems have private insurance.
Yeah.
They work side by side.
Yeah.
But you call
So-
it private insurance.
I personally,
I understand, but being an insurance-based person from many of my other jobs, we need to start saying single payer
Single payer
plans,
That's right.
because
Single payer plans.
that's where we get into trouble. That's where the expense is, because you've got how many millions of plans
Let
out
me-
there. That's
Barbara,
what
this
they
is.
don't understand about Medicare.
Let me
for
tell
all.
you, my family survives on the insurance industry. That's all I can say.
yeah.
So,
Is that really what
Yes.
Andrew does?
girl, you're not gonna say stuff.
Don't make him talk.
Well, it's financial.
Advisory,
financial
yeah.
I
Yes.
survived in the banking industry
Yes.
for
And
years,
so
But it's sad,
I'm
isn't
from
it,
the
to see
pharmaceutical industry, so
what I'm saying
when you
is,
purchase a single insurance?
so
you know,
we are trying already. We have been for the last several years, not only financially but in the future. We know that is going away.
yeah.
Just like the telephone operator
Mm-hmm.
went away
Yeah.
when cell phones came on board or whatever, landlines. Private insurance companies are on the way out. Okay, even big financial companies are starting to divest their portfolios into private insurance companies and going more towards long-term disability, car insurance, and those kind of things. So we know that is something that's going out. So, and they employ 1.5 million individuals. 1.5 million individuals would be displaced in the Medicare for All shows them how to retrain. 4 million people a year change jobs. So that is only 1/4 of what happens naturally. But at least we have a plan for the 1.5 million people. So I think, this is something that's going to happen. How fast it happens and how long people have to suffer depends on the will of the people.
Right.
And quite honestly, it depends on the progressive movement of the Democratic Party. And like a lot of things, I think. So how long it's going to happen, anyone who's reading the tea leaves knows that even the business community knows this is such a big burden to their bottom line. They want to get rid of it, but it's like the Bible, they don't want to talk about it.
Oh, I know.
But
I know.
polling-
And you and I are on the same wavelength on that. This employer-provided healthcare was a humongous disaster, and I benefited from it from many years.
And I'm fortunate I have good insurance.
Yeah,
Because
and now I realize what an atrocity it was all of this time.
And their premiums go up
So,
every year.
Yeah.
we've got 5 minutes.
Constitution.
Thank you, everyone. We've been positive today, right?
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
I'm sorry if
Yay
we seem
to
like
us. Yeah.
I'm sorry if we seem like the View today. No, we were better than Oprah.
Okay.
We didn't give anything away. We didn't give anything away.
Yeah.
Here is your pond Dulce!
Yay! I got a free pig.
That was for Barbara.
So-
Constitutional Code of the Week.
So we'll read the Fourth Amendment because
Excellent.
we talked about the first three last week in my short
Okay.
outburst.
Before you read it, let me tell
Sure.
our
Who's reading
audience.
it? You're reading it?
Lynn
I'll read it.
says
I'll read
that
it.
tonight we'll be interested on healthcare. So
Very
if y'all
interesting.
know
Yeah.
about what's going on tonight about healthcare
It's
conversation,
the second part of the debate.
the
other
second part,
Right.
okay.
Biden will be
So
on.
keep posted.
Yes.
So we
So,
can bring that next week.
Is it Hyotes? Is that what the name? Mark Freeman? He's hosting a watch party. That
Is
day.
he?
Oh, okay.
So I will be there tonight to watch the debates.
Oh, yeah.
Tonight also I'm hosting a meet and greet for Malcolm. He's a former senator.
Mm.
And
Will
city
be
councilman.
and
Yeah.
he's running now for City Council District 2 and he'll be at my house. I'm inviting everybody there. I'll post it. I'll give it to Cano will be there.
I know there's a couple of meet and greet tonight as well. So
Yeah,
I'm
there's-
not
there's
sure.
quite a few.
Jennifer
I can't
is gonna
promise.
be
Jennifer De La Hoya
tonight.
has one.
One tonight? I
Yeah.
thought it was
Jennifer
last
has
night.
one
No, it's tonight.
Okay, let's
Okay,
get to
so-
our point
Okay.
here.
All right.
Barbara's
Amendment
gonna
4.
read it.
Okay. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized.
So, remember last week we talked about the bulwark against tyranny, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the idea that you can speak out against the government.
Yep.
The First Amendment. The Second Amendment, if they try to take you down, you have the right to fight back, right? The Third Amendment, we talked about the quartering of soldiers, which is kind of in a modern sense, you could think of the electronic surveillance
Right,
as a
right.
form of quartering if they keep it in your house. And the Fourth Amendment is, going through your papers without permission. You need a judge to sign a
Issue
warrant
Yep.
so that the police can do that.
And that applies today with the ICE raids.
And don't
That's
open
right.
your
Fourth
doors
Amendment
unless they have a warrant.
Protects people from being
Yeah.
illegally apprehended by ICE. That is the argument that they've been using. Is that
Right.
correct?
That's
I think
correct.
that's what the Cano is.
That's right, and that's very important
Yeah.
for people to know that this is McFadden's argument. We've
Yeah.
talked about it many
Mhm.
times. He said, "Have a judge sign it. Once I've done what I can do under the law, you have to go to a judge and get somebody to sign it. You can't get some deep state,
Yeah.
ICE person to sign it.
ICE
It needs
person
to
to
be
sign
a
it.
judge with the warrant.
Yeah, it can't just be somebody, in an office going, "Yeah, I'll sign your piece of paper so you can
No.
get those
You-
those people." Right.
Let me say this, that I watched last week's show twice, but I watched it again last night because we always watch it to see how we did and whatever.
Yeah.
But you made a comment last week and you said, because I had said that I would not mind the government, so to speak,
Yeah.
looking at me to keep me safer.
Right.
And you made a very interesting comment that really struck me when I watched it last night.
Okay.
You said the First, Second, and Third Amendments, if those are gone, it's basically, I'm paraphrasing, something like that. And I thought about that, and you're right. The First, Second, and Third Amendments were basically to keep King George, or the government, or us, from keeping us from being able to stand up against him.
That's right.
And if we give those three away, it doesn't make any difference.
That's right.
What happens?
That's where
and so it's important for us to protect those First, Second, and Third, which is why people who are so adamant Second Amendment people protect it. They sometimes forget the First and the Third Amendment.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, we need to protect that because that's what keeps us to have a show like this.
That's right.
And so forth. So,
and that I think is something that we actually have in common with any social conservatives who might be watching the show because they were brought up on a lot of this thinking, this literature that you know the governments are basically tyrannical, and religion historically was a bulwark against tyrannical kings, and so you know we do have that in common.
Well, I want to thank everyone for watching.
Hey, Jenny, thank you.
Yes, it's been a great show today, and we're going to go ahead and sign out because we have used our 1 hour. We started 15 minutes late, and everyone's going to tell us where they are, and then we can take our Panducia home with us because everyone has meetings to tell us where you're going.
Yes,
so thank you so much for joining us. I believe next week we have, hopefully we'll have someone talk. We really want to talk about the Brooklyn Village situation.
So
oh yes, we have another person.
We have a special guest flying in from Brazil.
Alexa, play Pandora.
And her name is Sophia, and she will be here to talk about her experience in Brazil. And she loves politics, and she's progressive just like us.
All right. And I just want to give a shout out to the new business card for Tera Long. So if you're on the east side of Charlotte, I'll be placing some at the Latin American Coalition. And if you're in the South Charlotte area, they'll be at the Scaly Bark Library. They're beautiful, and don't forget, hand them out. Contact Miss Tera Long. I think she'll be a great commissioner for the county. So y'all vote for her.
Barbara, where are you going to be this week?
I'm going to be at a dinner meeting with Jorge.
Oh, Friday.
I also have Thursday night.
Thursday night.
And over the weekend, Art and I are dedicated to hitting a couple of events because he has a little time off because you can only run so many miles in one little body. So I said, you've got to take a break. He's up to 60 miles a week. That's enough. So
Excellent. And hopefully we'll get some muffins.
Oh, yes.
Cookies.
Cookies. Oh, no, he has a new muffin you have to try.
Oh, God. Okay, they're welcome.
Sorry.
Working out with
Yeah, we'll alternate them.
I'm going to encourage him to keep baking.
Yes.
I don't bake, so.
Ruth, where are you going to be?
I'm still expecting to be a grandma for the third time. I'm working so hard on all my organization for the baby shower, so I'm limiting myself on going out because I hardly get time to finish up what I'm doing. But I'm supporting everyone, so whatever, anything I can share, I can do, a lot from home.
So Alan and I Friday will be at Julia's Books and Coffee on Wendover in the Restore, and we'll be doing our half-hour webcast. Last week we talked about the military and war, and we don't have a plan for this Friday, but we'll come up with something great. And I'll be around town with my dog Bruce.
Tara.
So again, I want everybody to come to my house to Malcolm Graham's meet and greet tonight. I will post it on the website, and I'm gonna try and stop by his podcast on Friday. Cool.
All right. Well, listen, we want to thank our sponsor, Manola's Bakery, for the. Please visit his bakery on Central Avenue. You guys know about it. If you don't know, you need to visit it. Best tres leche cake in the world. And I will be, I think, with my family this weekend, but I'm sure we'll be doing something. We're going to your event tonight, and then there's a lot of events.
You're going to be catching more catfish, right?
I hope so. I don't think I'll ever be able to. So anyway, we're going to count ourselves out.
Bye, everyone.